Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Amber Rain Davis from NotableInk.com. I'm coming to you with something a little bit different today. I am a certified Zentangle teacher, and whenever I can blend both of my passions, Zentangle and card making together, I love to do that. October is the month of Inktober, and there are a list of Tangle prompts, one for each day, a different pattern for each day. While I knew I wouldn't be able to keep up every day, I wanted to share this project with you from day one. I'm going to be tangling on a Bazzill 3x3 Scalloped Mini Folded Card today. This is an intense kiwi, and these adorable cards are from cardstock.com. I'm also going to be Copic coloring my tangle pattern today with YG 13, 17, and 67. I'm going to start with traditional tangling by putting a dot in each corner. I like to leave about a scant centimeter border on the outside of the card, and I'm going to connect those dots ever so lightly with a pencil. These lines are going to blend away, and you're not going to really see them by the end of the project. So the tangle that we'll be focusing on today is called Mooka, M-O-O-K-A. And it's more of an organic pattern, whereas it's not based on a grid, and it's more freehand. So I'll do this again. So I start with kind of a curved line. I come around in a spiral. I'm going to terminate that, and then I'll come down and do what we call aura, which is to mimic a line or a pattern that you've previously drawn. Your pattern is going to look more consistent and more beautiful if your stem of the Mooka is the same, if you have the same amount of space between both of those lines from top to bottom. So you can see there, this one is not even from top to bottom, and it looks a little bit wonky. That's totally okay, because I'm going to fill in with other patterns, and the idea of Zentangle is that it is hand-drawn. It's not meant to look like a repeated pattern in the sense of everything being exactly the same. So each pattern that you create, each element that you create is going to have its own personality, if you will. So you can see that my pen strokes get a little bit wobbly, and that's because this paper is a little bit textured. You can probably see some of that bumpiness to the paper, and I don't mind that at all. I loved the color of this paper, and to me, it's October, and also I feel like this bright green color is reminiscent of Halloween. So I was really inspired by the paper to do a couple different projects. If you follow my channel, you may have seen the Lawn Fawn Halloween card that I also made on these intense kiwi cards. So this is another technique. This is called rounding the corners. And so I'm just filling in some of the negative space just right at the head of that Mooka. I kind of think of these as those, maybe you've seen them, those kind of like fronds that uncurl, with the leaves that kind of uncurl. That's what these remind me of. Mooka is a pattern that was created by the Zentangle company, so you can find more information about Zentangle at zentangle.com. Zentangle was founded by Maria Thomas and Rick Roberts. And so I'm just filling in some of the negative space here. If you see that the video jumps ahead, it's because I got too far out of frame. I don't usually record myself when I tangle, and so I got a little bit out of frame a few times. And that's because I was zoomed in. So next time I record, I won't zoom in. That'll give me a little more leeway with where I am on the camera. So I have the YG 13 here, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill in one of those Mooka fronds. I'm going to open up my card. The Copic markers do bleed through just a little bit. It's actually not as much as I thought it was going to be, because this isn't a super heavy cardstock. But it didn't really bother me. If it is something that bothers you, if you decide to do a project like this, you can always die cut a little square and put it on the inside to cover up that the Copic marker that has bled through. So I'm just adding some shadow. So again, I have a YG 13, As my lightest color, the mid-tone is a YG17 and the darkest color is a YG67. So that's where you could see the bleeding through on the back there. As I'm just doing this shading and coloring this in, we'll talk a little bit more about Zentangle. So your traditional Zentangle is all black and white. So you use, the traditional tools are a Sakura Micron pen. This that I used today was the Sakura Micron 01 pen. So there's different widths of the pen depending upon if you want a thicker or finer line. And also just a regular graphite pencil and a tortillon or paper stump. So with the green cardstock of this card, you can see I used a little bit of white charcoal to do some shading there and put a highlight. And when I did that, I was testing to kind of figure out, okay, how do I want to shade this? I felt like just going with the graphite might be a little plain on this super exuberant green card, which is why I opted for the Copics. I wanted to give these Mooka more shading than what I thought I could get with the variation with the graphite. So I kind of went in this direction. I don't normally Copic color my tangles, but I do think it's a beautiful look. So after I do some of this shading here with the Copics, we're going to go back in and add some more filler pattern to complete the composition here. I'm just going to add some shading on those. It almost looks like almost like a beehive or something going on there, which I really like. There's not really a name to that pattern. I just put in some curved lines there, and I think the shading really makes that pop. So these little orbs that I'm putting in here, I love these orbs. Now, they're called orbs versus circles because they're not really intended to be symmetrical. They can be squished into a space. You definitely don't need to be perfectly symmetrical circles. They're fantastic to fill spaces like this. So I'm going in and I'm putting in different sized ones, kind of meeting up both of those edges, as you can see there, and then circles get bigger. Then I'm going to bring them back down in size and squeeze in little small ones. And then once I get the circles in, I'm going to go back in and fill in the interstices with just the black Micron. And that helps to add depth. It also helps to add some drama, which is what they call it in Zentangle, which that contrast makes the rest of your patterns pop. So super fun to add your dark black ink in those areas. Sometimes I'll even, cover the majority of the background in black ink, depending on what kind of pattern I'm doing. So at this point, I've kind of decided that I want these orbs to look like they're filling this bottom area. So I'm going to go about halfway up with these orbs and kind of fill them in my square border that I have there. And so I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this line. I've decided that I want a frame around it. And you can see that my lines aren't perfect. Again, we're not going to break out a ruler. As part of Zentangle, there are no erasers in Zentangle. So we really look at errors or mistakes, or if you want to call it that, as opportunities to get creative and find a way to cover it up. It's similar to card making, right? With card making, I rarely toss a card and start over. I am much more likely to try and find a fix for whatever mistake I've done. I probably should have stock in that Tombow Mono Sand Eraser because I use it so often. That thing is amazing. If you don't have one, you should definitely get one of those. So just filling in these orbs here. And I'm going to bring it up a little bit over some of these ones. And it almost reminds me of these Mooka that are underneath are kind of growing out of the ground, and those haven't quite sprouted yet. And gross as it may seem, now that I'm looking at it and I'm thinking of that as the ground, those beehive looking things almost look like larvae. I'm not going to be able to get that out of my head now. So just filling these in, and then I'm going to decide that my border is not significant enough. And that corner there wasn't even, and that was making my eye twitch a little bit. So I'm just going to draw another line, even out that corner, and I'm going to fill it in to make this border more substantial. I love the fact that some of the Mooka are popping past the border. I think that has a nice artistic feel to it. So anytime you can have just like a couple elements popping over your border and spilling out, I think it looks, it just looks really good. I love it. So I'm missing some footage here, obviously, but what I've done is this is a General's white charcoal pencil, and I'm using it to highlight. So I've added my shading with the Copics, and I went through with all those little orbs and just put like a little parenthesis type line to add a highlight, and then I'm going to highlight these Mooka here. So you can see me blending it in with my finger, and that's just because my tortillon wasn't very handy. It wasn't close to me. So I was seeing how that's going to go, and it's not, my finger is not really blending at all on this particular cardstock. So I will get my tortillon. I think the tortillon I had near me was for my regular graphite, and I didn't want to use it for my white charcoal because it would have just smeared the regular graphite onto the card. So what you'll see me do once I grab it is use the back end of it to do my blending, because I was too lazy to get up and go find my white tortillon. So I mark one for white charcoal and one for regular charcoal. So you can just see me blending this in with the tortillon or paper stump, whichever one that you have. Usually works much better than your finger. And there we have it. That's our finished project. The other thing that you want to do, which you can see up underneath that largest Mooka, is add your chop. Your chop it's an artistic representation of your initials or your name, and each of your projects should have one. You want to put your chop on the front, and then you want to sign and date the back. The other thing that I did here that off camera was you can see just around the top and sides of the Mookas that were touching the border, I did some additional rounding there to add some depth and contrast, and that almost looks like the Mooka have kind of melded themselves to that border. It just adds a little something extra there. As the last part of the Zentangle process, you want to hold your tile or your card out and appreciate it and give gratitude. I hope that you enjoyed this project today, and if you did, please hit the like button below. That is so helpful anytime you're watching a video that you like, to hit that like button so that it can be seen by other people as well. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. You can check out my Instagram account. I actually have a giveaway going on right now. I'm amazed that I just hit 1,000 subscribers, and I'm so thankful for all of the followers. You guys are amazing, and I couldn't do it without you. I've linked 2 more Zentangle card videos here for you to check out. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have an amazing day.